Hello everyone. Today, I'll continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Dieu Hân, wishing you a few peaceful and relaxing moments. When Han turned on the TV and heard the news about the devastating floods in Quynh, she froze. The images on the screen tightened her chest. Bustling streets had turned into raging rivers of muddy water. Houses were submerged, with only rooftops peeking above the flood. Once lush rice fields and vegetable gardens were now flattened, leaving only muddy stalks behind. Somewhere in the background, children's cries mingled with desperate shouts echoing through the floodwaters, a sound that pierced the heart. Han saw an old woman trembling as she clung to a tiny boat, her frail hands gripping a small bag of food. A young mother trudged through the swirling water, holding her baby tightly under the pouring rain. Her eyes filled with fear and despair. Schools, once filled with laughter, were now ghostly halls with desks floating aimlessly. Roads to the villages were cut off, transportation halted, electricity gone, clean water scarce, and families trapped in muddy makeshift shelters. Watching those scenes, Han felt her heart ache. Memories of past storms resurfaced. The night her roof was torn away, the garden flattened, her mother staying up all night to keep the rain from soaking their belongings. The helplessness of watching years of hard work washed away still lingered. Han understood that natural disasters destroy not just property, but also one's sense of security, the fear of not knowing what tomorrow will bring. After a moment of silence, Han stood up, eyes filled with determination. "I can't just sit here," she thought. She immediately called her close friends and colleagues, people who had joined her in past charity work. Everyone quickly agreed to help. Some donated money, others gathered clothes, blankets, medicine, milk, and dried food. Han herself packed boxes of rice, noodles, salt, and cooking oil, along with small handwritten cards of encouragement. "Stay strong, this too shall pass." As she loaded each box onto the truck, a warm feeling spread through her heart. She knew that in times of sorrow, even the smallest kindness could bring light to someone's day. Looking at the gray skies over Quynh, Han silently prayed, "May the storm end, the waters recede, and may everyone find peace again. Someday soon the fields will turn green, and children's laughter will once again fill the villages." After following the flood reports, Han couldn't shake the sorrow in her chest. Images of submerged homes and people huddled on rooftops waiting for rescue haunted her. She remembered living through a similar storm, the fear, the loss, the despair, and felt an urge rising within her. All afternoon she sat before her phone, reading post after post, plea after plea. Each photo, each video cut deeper into her heart. And then a thought struck. "I can't just stand by anymore." That very night, she wrote a heartfelt post calling for donations, not with grand words but with sincerity. These days, Quynh is drowning in floods. Houses are half submerged. Children are sheltering in muddy classrooms. We who are safe and dry can do something, however small, to warm their hearts in this hardship. Every act of kindness is a light. Join Han in sending love, a few kilos of rice, some clothes, or even a kind word. Together, no one will be left behind. Her post spread quickly. Friends, co-workers, and even strangers began messaging her. Some donated money, others collected supplies, and a group of university students volunteered to help pack donations. Within just 2 days, a mountain of relief goods filled the corner of her office, ready to be sent north. Looking at the stacks of boxes, Han felt a quiet warmth rise inside. She realized she wasn't alone. Compassion still lived in every heart, waiting to be awakened. That night, as she closed her laptop, Han sat by the window watching the rain. Though she had never been to Quynh, it now felt close, bound by shared empathy and love. A week later, the first trucks carrying relief goods that Han's group had gathered arrived safely in Quynh. That evening after work, Han checked her phone and saw messages from the local volunteers. On the screen were radiant faces, villagers smiling despite their hardship, an elderly woman hugging a bag of rice, children waving their milk cartons at the camera, men unloading supplies in a temporary warehouse. A caption read, "Thank you to everyone in Saigon. The aid has arrived." Tears blurred Han's eyes. All the fatigue of the past days melted away, replaced by a soft happiness. Though she hadn't gone there herself, her compassion, and that of countless others, had reached those in need like countless invisible hands joined in kindness. She reposted the pictures with a short message. "The aid has arrived and so have the smiles. Thank you everyone for sharing not only food and clothes, but also love, faith, and hope. The flood may sweep away houses, but it can never wash away humanity." The post was flooded with comments and promises of continued support. One message read, "Next time you organize a charity drive, count me in." Han smiled softly and nodded. She knew that this small act had woven an invisible thread connecting many hearts, from the city to distant villages. Outside, the last rains of the season fell lightly. The skies were no longer heavy, and in Han's heart too, the storm had passed, leaving behind only the gentle light of faith and compassion spreading quietly across the world. A few days later, the trucks loaded with relief supplies that Han and her friends had gathered finally arrived in Quynh. When she received the message, "The goods have arrived, everyone's received what they need," Han's heart swelled with emotion. She unlocked her phone and looked at the photos that had just come in. Sunburnt faces glowing with gentle smiles, children holding milk cartons, an elderly woman clutching a bag of rice, and new blankets neatly laid out inside homes freshly cleaned of mud. All the sleepless nights spent packing, checking lists, and updating inventories suddenly felt completely worth it. Warmth spread through her chest. A quiet, fulfilling warmth, as she realized that her small effort had truly reached the people who needed it most. Her phone buzzed again and again, messages from the volunteer group. "Han, everyone's so happy. Thanks to the team. There's rice and noodles, people feel much more at ease now." Reading each line, tears rolled down her cheeks. Even though she wasn't there in person, she could still feel the joy, the gratitude, the warmth radiating back through the screen. A deep and gentle happiness bloomed within her, the kind that only comes from giving. That evening, Han shared some of the photos on her social media, adding a heartfelt message. "The aid has arrived, and the smiles have returned. Thank you to everyone who joined hands with me to send love to the flood-stricken region. May peace return soon, and may everyone overcome these difficult days." Leaning back in her chair, Han gazed out at the rain easing beyond the porch. A strange sense of peace settled over her. She knew that even a small contribution, when joined with others, could create something powerful. A warm flame to chase away the cold. A reminder that compassion remains humanity's greatest strength. When things finally quieted down, Han sat silently, scrolling through the photos and thank you messages from Quynh. A soft smile curved her lips. The past few days had been exhausting, but to her, they were the most meaningful days she'd had in a long time. She realized that true joy doesn't come from how much we have, but from what we can do for others. Han thought to herself, life is fragile. A single storm can sweep everything away. But there is one thing no force can ever take: human kindness. In hardship, people reach for each other. Through open arms, through simple acts of generosity that carry profound warmth. It is love that helps people rise after loss. Love that keeps the heart warm through the coldest times. She quietly opened her journal and wrote a single line. Giving doesn't make us have less, it makes our hearts fuller. Only when we live for others do we truly understand what happiness means. Outside, the sky finally cleared after many days of rain. Han closed her notebook, smiled, and looked up at the soft blue above. Something within her had shifted, deeper, calmer, warmer. She knew that as long as people continued to care for one another, no storm could ever truly bring them down. The next morning, sunlight streamed gently through the window. Han woke to the familiar peace of home. birdsong mixed with the laughter of her son, Tom, filling the small house with joy. The two tidied up together and prepared a simple, cozy breakfast. Han smiled as she watched her son, the little boy who was her greatest source of strength through every hardship. A few moments later, the sound of a motorbike stopped at the gate. Han frowned slightly. She already knew who it was. Just as she expected, Tai, the man she had once rescued during a heavy storm, stood there in the yard, holding a neatly wrapped gift bag. His expression carried both gratitude and hesitation, something that made Han slightly uneasy. "Hi, Han," Tai began softly. "I came to thank you. If you hadn't helped me that day, I don't know what would have happened. This is just a small token. Please accept it." Han stayed calm, her tone gentle but firm. "You don't need to do that. Helping someone in trouble is just something we should do. I didn't do it expecting anything in return." She refused the bag politely but decisively. Though she could see sincerity in his eyes, her cautious nature kept her from wanting any further involvement. Tai had caused some trouble around the neighborhood before, and all Han wanted now was for that incident to be the end of it. Tai looked embarrassed, nodding slightly. "I understand. I won't bother you anymore. Thank you truly." Han gave a faint nod, saying nothing more. She watched quietly as the sound of his motorbike faded down the alley. A gentle breeze swept through the yard, carrying with it the scent of fresh sunlight. When she stepped back inside, she saw little Tom sitting at the table drawing. He looked up and asked, "Mom, was that the man you helped in the big rain?" "Yes, that's him," she replied. "But it's over now. I just hope he stays safe and doesn't cause trouble for anyone anymore." She brushed a strand of hair from her son's forehead and smiled. "Come on, let's have breakfast. The weather's beautiful. How about we go to the market and buy some flowers after this?" Tom clapped his hands excitedly and pulled her toward the door. As Han stepped outside, she looked up at the bright blue sky. Her heart felt light. She held no resentment, sought no repayment, only peace for herself and her son, and the quiet contentment that comes from doing what's right and keeping distance from anything that might bring them harm. As Tai left Han's house, he rode his motorbike slowly down the narrow alley in silence. The morning sunlight brushed across his face, yet in his eyes lingered something unreadable, part embarrassment, part unwillingness to let go. He stopped at the end of the street and turned off the engine. From a distance, Tai could see Han holding little Tom's hand as they headed to the market, two small figures walking peacefully together. She was just as simple as the first time he'd met her. Hair neatly tied back, a bare face, eyes calm but slightly distant. That quiet composure both impressed and unsettled him. "She really doesn't want anything to do with me," Tai muttered under his breath, his fingers tightening around the handlebars. Part of him wanted to leave, but another part refused. Since the day she had saved him, her image had been imprinted in his mind, tangled between gratitude and something he couldn't quite define. He sat there for a long while, watching the mother and son disappear into the crowd. He could still recall the cold look in Han's eyes when she refused his gift, a look that made him feel small, yet sparked a strange urge to prove himself. "Someday she'll see me differently," Tai whispered, a faint, ambiguous smile curling on his lips. That afternoon, when Han and Tom returned home, she felt a sudden unease, as if someone were watching her. She turned around, but the alley was quiet, only the rustle of leaves swaying in the breeze. A brief chill ran down her spine, but she brushed it off. "I'm just imagining things," she told herself. She tightened her grip on Tom's hand and stepped quickly inside, locking the door behind them. But somewhere beyond the alley, hidden in the shade, a figure lingered, his eyes dark and deep. Tai took a slow drag from his cigarette, the smoke dissolving into the air, leaving behind a storm of mixed emotions, gratitude, regret, and a shadowy intent quietly taking shape in his mind. Later that day, as the sunlight softened, Han was watering the small flower pots in her yard when a familiar voice called out from the gate. "Hun, are you home?" She looked up to see Tan standing there, holding a small golden-furred dog by the leash. The puppy wagged its tail eagerly, sniffing around with curious excitement. "Who's this little one?" Han laughed, stepping closer. Tan smiled gently and patted the dog's head. "This is Lua. I've raised him since he was a pup, smart and sweet-natured. But lately I've been traveling a lot for work and can't take care of him properly. I was hoping you could look after him for me. With Lua around, your home will feel livelier. And safer too." Han blinked in surprise, then looked down at the playful puppy wagging his tail as if greeting her. Warmth rose in her heart. "You bring me such a cute guest. How could I say no? Don't worry, I'll take good care of him." Tan nodded, his eyes kind and sincere. "I know you love animals. And honestly, I'll feel more at ease knowing he's here. There've been some things lately that make me worry about you and Tom being alone. Lua's a good dog. He'll bark right away if he sees a stranger." Han understood what he was hinting at, but said nothing. She knelt down and gently stroked the dog's soft fur, feeling the warmth of its breath against her palm. The little creature looked up at her with bright, trusting eyes, as if it already knew it had found a new home. "Welcome home, Lua," she said softly, her voice full of affection. Tom ran out, squealing in delight. "Mom, he's so cute. Can I give him a different name?" "No need, sweetheart," Han chuckled. "Lua suits him, gentle just like he is." Tan stood watching the joyful scene, mother, child, and puppy, and felt a quiet peace settle in his chest. In the golden glow of late afternoon, the sound of Han and Tom's laughter blended with the puppy's soft barks, filling the air with warmth. Before leaving, Tan turned back with a smile. "If anything happens, call me, okay? I'm always here." Han nodded lightly. Her smile was calm, though her eyes carried a faraway look. After he disappeared down the street, she glanced back at the little dog curled in Tom's arms and whispered, "From today we have a new family member. Lua will guard our home and our peace." The sky deepened into a warm amber hue. In the small courtyard, laughter and barking mingled together, a picture of quiet happiness. After so many storms, it felt as though life had finally sent Han a small precious gift, one wrapped not in luxury but in love and calm.
Hello mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục kể cho mọi người câu chuyện về người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân. Thì hiện tại ở Việt Nam mình đang chịu thiệt hại về cơn lũ. Thì tỉnh Thái Nguyên đang bị ảnh hưởng rất nhiều. Nghe thấy tin tức như thế thì Hân đã đứng lên quyên góp, ủng hộ và gửi đến đồng bào ở Thái Nguyên để góp một phần nhỏ bé giúp mọi người vượt qua khó khăn ấy. Người mẹ đơn thân không chỉ có một tấm lòng tốt, còn rất bao dung và yêu thương nhau. Hy vọng rằng cuộc sống của Diệu Hân sẽ ngày càng tốt hơn vì tấm lòng nhân ái của Diệu Hân. Rất cảm ơn mọi người đã ủng hộ video của mình trong suốt thời gian qua. Hy vọng rằng kênh của mình sẽ ngày càng phát triển và đưa đến những câu chuyện hay hơn cho mọi người. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay của mình nha. Xin chào mọi người.